Hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Nugentino. And I'd like to welcome you, Kylie, to this episode. Would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
Yes. Hi, I'm Kylie Price. I'm a visual artist and longtime friend of Drew's. We've been watching movies together since we were in high school, I think, which has been a long time ago. So I'm excited to
Yep.
be here and reviewing this movie with you.
Yep, we're reviewing The Northman, Robert Eggers' film. Recently just came out, and yeah, I've been excited about this for a long time. I love Robert Eggers. I love The Witch. I love The Lighthouse. And obviously, I'm excited for anything he does. And this is a pretty cool project because I didn't really know this until recently, but it had like a $90 million budget. So way like a huge step up from what he's done before in terms of budget. Like I think the other ones are like 10, maybe even in the single digits, not single digits, still millions of dollars, but maybe like $5 million, just like in the lower tier from filmmaking. But yeah, it was really cool to see. I got to see it in Dolby Cinema, which is it's like a massive screen at AMC, and I was really surprised they played it there because they've got Fantastic Beasts out, various things that would usually play in that situation. But I got to see it that way, and it was really awesome. The audio was amazing. And anyway, what were your thoughts about it?
I thought it was really good. Both times I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse. The first time I saw it was the La Centera Alamo Drafthouse, and then the second was at the South Lamar Alamo Drafthouse. So I love those theaters, and it's always fun going there. So
Which
um,
one do you like better? Which Alamo Draft House?
I think the South Lamar one,
Yeah,
just because like they have it all decorated like The Shining, and then they also have the like carnival ride kind of stuff, like
yeah,
different decorations at that one. So
yeah. That one's really
I think
cool.
the
I don't get
atmosphere
to go
is
because I'm
just
not in
very
Austin, but
different.
yeah, it's really cool. That's like their flagship one now because they don't have the Ritz anymore, which was on Sixth Street,
Yeah, I
and
have
that
never
w-
been to that one, and I'm really sad that it closed down.
yeah, I don't understand
But,
why because they have like 8 theaters in Austin. They could have closed any other one, but that was like one of the best ones. But
right.
South of Mars is still really cool. Like you said, it's decorated amazingly, and they have like film screenings and all kinds of stuff. By film, I mean like celluloid, 35 millimeter, 70 millimeter. But
Right.
yeah, but I love the Alamo Draft House. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. But
Yeah, and I just got so they just started doing their season pass again since the pandemic started. They had like stopped their season pass. And so what it is basically you pay $20 a month and you can see one movie a day.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So I'm gonna be seeing a lot more movies that way.
Yeah, I have AMC Stubs, which is you get to see like 3 movies in a week. So,
Okay.
but like, is I think at Alamo Draft House you only get like one per day, but you can't like so you could hypothetically see 7 movies in a week, but you can't see more than one in a day.
Right.
So, and I would go a lot, but the only reason I used to have season pass, but I still live like an hour away from my Alamo Draft House. So, because the Katy one's the closest one to me, and I'm in League City.
Yeah. Have they
But
started building the League City one? Is that still
no,
happening?
I don't know if it's still happening. There's a sign that says that it's coming, but
It's been there
um,
for like 2 years.
yeah, they announced it literally right before the pandemic happened. It was like February 2020, and the way things were looking then in February, they thought they're going to be going full steam ahead. Like I think if the pandemic wouldn't have happened, it would have been there like October 2020. But after the pandemic happened, everything got thrown into disarray. So
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed.
yeah, I hope so. But what were you saying to get back to the Northman? What were your thoughts on
Yeah,
it? Sorry.
sorry. I really enjoyed it. I think that just like the Alamo Drafthouse in general sets a good tone for seeing movies because they have all the different rules in place where like you can't be loud, you can't be on your phone, like all of those
Mhm.
things that other movie theaters don't really like advertise as being part of their um what's the word? Like just like part of their entity in general. And so everybody was like really respectful, but it's also like the movie is so intense and like vivid and just beautiful that you can't help but to be engrossed in it. And I really enjoy all of Robert Eggers' movies as well. And I was really excited to hear that he got this like much larger budget than The Witch had, obviously, and then The Lighthouse. And it was exciting to see what he did with it. And I was a little worried, admittedly, that he might like really stray from his original aesthetic into like what making a big blockbuster kind of action movie looks like. But I felt like it stayed really true to his aesthetic and his eye and vision for the first two movies, just with a bigger budget this time.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about that too, because I'd heard things that he wasn't like 100% satisfied because he had some issues because of the big budget with studio interference and stuff. And just them, taking notes and like they would do test screenings and they were trying to cut it to way like the audience being confused and try to change things around. But like watching the movie, like I don't really see what his problems would have been. It still very much felt like a Robert Eggers movie to me. But yeah, because I remember him saying that he wouldn't like necessarily, he might be hesitant to do like a big budget movie again because he doesn't want to deal with that studio interference. I still found out like amazingly. It's a 5-star movie for me.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars also, and I think that I don't know, like I can't really rank his movies because they're all so similar and like different at the same time. But it definitely had like all of the really good qualities and things that I like about the other two in this one. So I was happy to see it and happy to not like be disappointed, as I sometimes am when like a director gets a bigger budget and the studio like interferes too much.
Yeah, sometimes it does happen, but like Focus Features was behind it. I don't know what like the Universal distributes it or something. I'm not sure, but like I think like Focus Features is a pretty like good studio. Like a lot of their movies, I'm trying to think of some Focus Features movies. They did Phantom Thread, like tons of stuff going back to like the 2000s, but they're all like artful films. So it's not like, I feel like the people behind it understood what he was going for and let him do what he wanted. Because there's so much, like the violence in the movie is like way more graphic than you would usually see. I feel like he's allowed to go as far as he really wants. I read that he wanted, funnily enough, more full frontal nudity, but he didn't get that. But I don't think
that's really? Yeah.
But that's
well, and opinion. Also think about like, so there was a really small cast for The Lighthouse. There was a really small cast for The Witch. And in this, he's working with like, not just like a main cast, but also a secondary cast. And then there's tertiary characters and extras. Yeah. So going from managing like, directing a small group to directing such a large group, I thought he was really successful in doing that.
Definitely.
And I thought
some of bigger scope.
Some of the secondary and I guess like tertiary characters were what made the movie in a lot of ways. Yeah. So
Nicole Kidman was one of the best parts. She has a certain scene towards the end, like that's sort of a realization that was great. I'm trying to think Willem Dafoe is always great.
Yeah.
His head scene was very good, but when he comes back,
I have a story for that later after you like do the run through, so we'll have to come back to that.
Yeah, definitely. Bjork was interesting. I'd heard about her being in it, and I didn't know how much she was going to be in it. It's just really one scene, but I thought that was a good scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I need more Bjork, but yes, I'm glad she was in it, and I thought that her scene was really powerful.
Yeah, it was very intense, and also like seeing it in Dolby. I mean, I've talked about that a million times, but the sound is like so good, and I can hear like every reverberation of her like rolling her tongue in her Icelandic like accent, and they're just
Oh, awesome.
the sound design. I don't even know how to explain it, but the sound design is amazing. Um, and I wish I could see every movie that way. Well, maybe not every movie, but there's certain movies that like you think about a giant screen and an amazing sound system, and you just automatically assume it's good for blockbusters. But there's movies like Mandy with Nicolas Cage. I would love to see that on a massive screen with it with
Oh, yeah.
amazing sound. I got
No,
to
I've
see
only ever
everything.
seen Mandy on my TV at home. I didn't see it in theaters. So
Yeah,
that
I
would
got to
be
see it at the
awesome.
Alamo Draft House in Denver. That's the only time I've seen the theater, but it was a good experience. But yeah, everything everywhere all at once. I got to see in IMAX, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I bet that was great, especially with like all the action and
Mhm.
like, effects and stuff like that.
And that was like real IMAX. There's a lot of IMAX theaters that are kind of fake. I've actually looked it up, and there's actually only 6 theaters in Texas that are like true IMAX, and one of them is in Houston. It's like the Regal uh, Marquee Theater. It's like on the Katy Freeway. But
Oh, wow. Don't they have IMAX at Moody Gardens? Sorry, that's kind of random, but I just
well,
remember them having it
I
at
think
Moody
they might,
Gardens.
but they don't show movies there. They don't. I mean, they show like like nature documentary type stuff.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
remember like a shark documentary specifically.
Yeah, I've definitely seen stuff like that there. I think they have shown some movies once or twice. Like they've had like the Dark Knight there for like a special event, but it's very like rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love getting to see like art house kind of movies on massive screens. But anyway, like yeah, basically I was totally satisfied with the movie. It was I was a little bit worried because like with period films, just seeing the trailer, sometimes like with like Viking epics or films like Gladiator or like Apocalypto, sometimes I get afraid that I'm like gonna get bored or something just because of the period. But like I mean, obviously I wasn't bored in any way. I mean the story it's very simple, like archetypical kind of story. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have compared it to The Lion King. It goes back to Hamlet, which I mean, The Lion King was inspired by Hamlet, and I mean, I've heard that there was like a Norse myth that like inspired Hamlet. So I think this was actually more drawing from that Norse myth. But yeah, I love the story, and yeah, I love the movie. But
Yeah, I love this story, and so funny enough, one of my coworkers is very into like Norse mythology,
mhm.
and I had always thought that Viking funerals were specifically them putting the body onto a boat and setting it on
Yeah, I've
fire and
seen that
like
too.
letting it
Hmm.
go in the water. And we were talking about it, and she was saying different tribes or clans, whatever you want to call them, um, do it differently. And there's the scene where the eldest son of his uncle is killed,
Hmm.
and then they do the burial. And so she explained to me, because he didn't have a wife, he wasn't like necessarily old enough to have a wife or something,
Hmm.
they put the slave woman in with him when they buried him, because that was like
They just
traditional
picked
to.
like a random slave.
Yeah, she in the I think in the scene, I know I like watched
I
it
forget a
with
little
this
bit, but
information again last night.
mhm.
Um and it's the woman who is like singing when they start the funeral scene.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and then like the whole like cutting off the horse's head and putting it into the boat with them as well was like historically accurate, which I mean I would expect nothing less from Robert Eggers, especially since he's been so historically accurate, and all of those little details are really important to him in The Lighthouse and in The
Yeah.
Witch.
Well, once you get to the end, like, and just to tell everyone in the audience, like, I'm just gonna go full spoilers here. So if you don't want to know spoilers, then just don't watch. But Um, at the end, when Nicole Kidman, the mother, and the son are both killed, you see them on the mountain when he's climbing up to Hell's Gates, like the volcano, and they cut off the head of the horse there too. So is that just symbolic for when anybody dies, like in this family? You have
I
to cut off
want
the head
to
of a horse.
say, because I don't think that they do that in the Viking funerals where they like put them in the boat and set the boat on fire. So I think it's like specific to certain groups, maybe.
Well, I don't
Uh,
think they were Vikings. Like I don't think the because it was like a kingdom, but it was weird because they were taken over by another king. So it was pointless that he killed his brother, and they like went to this Icelandic like island to be farm people. They still had like a bunch of
right.
slaves and stuff.
So I don't
And
know if they like held on to the traditional stuff. I'm not really sure.
I think the only Viking in the movie is well, I mean, there's other Vikings, but like Alexander Skarsgård, the lead, he's a Viking. I thought it was because he ran away and he joined a bunch of Vikings, and then you
Oh,
and then you see him pillaging and doing all this crazy stuff with Vikings and whatnot. But then he goes back towards his to Fjolnir to find Fjolnir because Bjork the witch like tells him that it's his destiny and he needs to like join his path of like finding this vengeance. But yeah, I think
right.
he joined like a Viking sect of people. And I don't think anybody else like that
Were
was just
Vikings
like
before.
yeah, they were like it was just like a Norse kingdom.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm pretty sure what was
Yeah,
happening.
I'm not sure. My friend who is like really into that stuff saw it also, and she seemed to think that they were like all Vikings, I guess like different kinds of Vikings, but I'm really not sure. I couldn't say.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think they technically count as Vikings, but I could be wrong. But I know Alexander Skarsgård for sure like became a Viking. And when you first see him when he's aged up, like after you leave him as a child, it's him with a bunch of Vikings,
Right.
and
The like
they're like
wolf clan.
mm, and they're like pillaging and stuff, and but then like he decides to be sold off as a slave so he can find Fjolnir, his father who was killed's brother. But yeah, that's how I understood it. But yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
did you think
remember.
of Claes Bang? He played Fjolnir.
I really liked him. I think that honestly I would have liked to see a little more of his character. Um, but I think I don't know. I really liked the subtle ways that he was used, especially in the beginning of the movie when they have the scene where um they're coming back from like battle or something like that. And Alexander Skarsgård as a child, or not Alexander Skarsgård. What's his name as like a kid, or not as
I
a
don't know
kid?
the kid actor's name, but I'm trying to think of what his character's name even was.
They're so hard
But
to
I know what
remember.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
The
but like
child version
so
of
the
him.
little kid and Nicole Kidman, and he comes home and um to greet them, and there's a scene where the part where Ethan Hawke like I guess drinks from her cup, and then Fjolnir also drinks from her cup, and um Willem Dafoe makes a comment and is like doing a little jest about that, but that really just like cascades into setting up the whole movie
Yeah.
as far as foreshadowing. And
Hmm.
I thought it was really interesting to see Fulner's character's trajectory through the movie. So killing his brother into ruling a kingdom, but we don't really see that. And I guess he didn't do it for that long. And then ends up being a like sheep farmer,
Hmm.
but I guess still has, some amount of power because they have all of these enslaved people with
I
them.
guess what I think is like they were just trying to like have their own kingdom on their own island. That's the only thing I can think. Because like his son is still acting like a prince. Like he's acting very empowered and entitled and like I think they were trying to have their own separate kingdom on this place because
Right.
at the beginning they said that his kingdom, which was his brother's kingdom that he took over, was taken over by some other Norse king that just came and pillaged the place and just took it. But yeah, but that was interesting. Have you seen The Square?
That's the one. Oh, is that him? Is he the main
Yeah,
character?
yeah, he's the
Wow.
main guy in The Square,
Yeah,
which
I
was
love
cool.
that
But
movie.
mm, yeah,
That's like that was one of my favorite movies that I watched last year,
yeah,
I think.
that was pretty good. I saw it in the theater last probably when it came out, but I loved it at the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, one small criticism I have is I thought Ethan Hawke. I didn't think he was bad in it or anything, but I just thought he felt kind of weird as like this king character. I don't know. He just didn't like fit into the time for me. I don't know why. But but it wasn't like really. It's not enough to like dock any points. I mean, he was fine. I just thought that felt like a little odd for some reason. The casting of him.
The cast, yeah, I could agree with that, and I think mainly when it stood out to me was when they went down into the it's not a chapel, but like the kind of sacred place in their village, and Willem Dafoe is down there and they do this
Yeah,
ritual and there's like psychedelics involved. um he just didn't fit for me in that scene particularly, and like everyone else in that scene was so strong, but I agree, like not to dock any points, he just didn't fit in.
yeah.
um and I don't know what it is about it, but I agree with that.
I don't think he's from Texas, but whenever I think of him, he just has like a Richard Linklater vibe to me because he's in so many Richard Linklater movies.
I was gonna
So
say, like, before sunset, like that's all I think about when I see him.
yeah, he just feels very modern, and he doesn't like blend in totally to me into this like ancient world.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting in that scene with Willem Dafoe at the beginning. Some of the farting and burping was unexpected, but there's a lot of people laughing in my theater at that.
There were a lot of people laughing in my theater as well. But I said once we get to, like, I guess we can use this moment to talk about it.
Hmm.
So that like really offended the people who were sitting next to us when I saw it for the first time.
The
And
farting?
well, it wasn't just that, a lot of scenes in the movie. And I guess they had never been to an Alamo before, and they play the like clips before the movie. And so
Hmm.
Bjork is on, they're playing one of her music videos, and this guy is like, what is this? Like, why are they playing this before the movie instead of like commercials? And
My
just
God.
being really loud about not liking the before clips or being confused by them. And then we get into, excuse me, the part where they're doing the ritual and Ethan Hawke is burping and the little kid is farting and they're like audibly disgusted. Um, and it's
Yeah,
bothering the people around them. Like, I just
yeah.
tried to ignore it because I was like, I'm here to see this. I've been
Hmm.
really excited to see this. And then um, the scene where they show uh, Willem Dafoe's head, like
Yeah.
severed head, and they're using it as like this magical object, kind of.
Hmm.
They got up and walked out.
Well, good. You should have walked out much earlier. But
Yeah, they should have. But yeah, some of the like enslaved Christian stuff also made them like audibly kind of disgusted, I guess. And then the
yeah,
Willem Dafoe scene is like not too long after that, and they just like got their pillows and blankets that they had brought with them and walked out.
yeah. I guess they're expecting something much more traditional, but I haven't
Yeah.
had too many experiences with that, like with like, you know, just normies being at Alamo Draft Houses. Like, I've heard some people at Alamo Draft House like talking a little bit. I haven't had at AMC where I go because I have AMC stubs. Like, there's all kinds of crazy people that do stupid stuff. But
Right.
at Alamo Draft House, usually it's pretty good. But every once in a while, you'll have some people wander in that don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, but I could tell like the vibe around us was kind of like annoyed. But once they left, everybody kind of like sunk back into it. So
Yeah. I never know what to do in situations like that. Like, I went to like Star Cinema, I think it was District Theaters, which is it's one of these like dine-in type theaters. But I saw Star is Born there, and there were these like I don't know, like 30-year-old ladies like just talking behind me like the whole time, like joking about the movie, but like really loudly,
oh no.
and like just being like super obnoxious. But I don't know, I never said anything. I should have, but it was just awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I feel like it would take a lot for me to say something.
Yeah, I'm not a very confrontational person, so. But I've been with like I saw Captain America: Civil War at Cinemark. That's just like a theater here in my neighborhood. But one of my friends, we were seeing that, and there's a bunch of people talking behind us, and then he just turned around and like told them to shut up, like very blatantly, just being like an asshole, and they did, and that was that. But I don't know. I'm always afraid in situations like that. Like, I don't want to start like some sort of confrontation.
Right. And then, I don't want to be the person who's like adding to the distraction. Like, what happens if that person becomes combative and then I have to say something and it just becomes a thing?
Yeah. But luckily, usually at Alamo Draft House, it isn't too bad. And at AMC, like, it's just, there's so much of that usually I just try to ignore things unless it's super horrible.
Right.
I just saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent at AMC, and there was like a group of like literally like 10 teenagers that were sitting next to me. And they were just like super annoying the entire time, like talking. But luckily, it wasn't like, it was way louder than it should have been, but like, it wasn't too loud that like I couldn't just drown it out just by watching the movie.
Right.
But like, yeah, but I don't know. That's part of why if I go during the weekend, like that's when all of those kind of people are out. Like, it's the weekend and they're going to see a movie. But if I go on like a Wednesday, then usually it's not bad.
Yeah, that's definitely. And I saw the Northman on a Saturday at La Centera. So it makes sense people would be out for like their thing that they're doing that weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like that didn't take away from like the experience for me seeing it the first time. I just thought it was kind of funny because
Yeah.
I just like won't walk out of a movie like
Neither
on
will I really.
principle. Like,
Yeah.
I paid money for it. I'm gonna sit there and watch it.
Well, there's that, and especially with like Letterboxd, which I've been using for like 10 years, but I'm so stuck in like the mode of like I need to log this, which is dumb, but it's just how I am. Like that, like I feel like, well, one, if I walk out of a movie, I paid for it. But even now with AMC stubs, a lot of it feels like I'm getting it for free.
Right.
So I don't have that problem necessarily, but it's more the letterbox thing, honestly. Like I want to log this, and even if it's really bad, at least I get to like review like a 1-star movie or say something on there about it.
Right. No, I
So
feel that way too of like, I want to sit through it to see it, but also for Letterboxd
yeah,
to log it. And I don't want to log something that I haven't seen all the way through and be like, this was so horrible. I didn't finish it.
yeah, I don't like doing that either. I have a friend who like he likes to tag things like turned off or like I don't think he does walked out, but like he does turned off. And like I won't log anything if I didn't finish it. Like I have to finish it in order to log it.
Right. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
the code that I stand by as well.
Yeah. I actually considered walking out of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. One, because I didn't really like the movie. I mean, it wasn't horrible enough to walk out of, but it was also the people next to me that were just annoying me. And like I was like, I just want to get out of here. But like at the same time, I was thinking like I want to finish this eventually. So like I was like, I might as well just finish it now, so I don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah.
so I just
I
sat
saw
there.
that too,
But
and I loved it. But we also saw it in a theater that was like, I would say 80% dads. So it was like a bunch of dads that loved Nicolas Cage, and then us, and it
nice.
was just a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. Did you see that at Alamo Drafthouse?
Yes, I saw that one. So there's a Alamo Drafthouse Slaughter Lane. Have you been to that
Okay.
one?
No, I've just been to South Lamar and the Ritz in Austin.
Okay. This one I
Yeah.
think is newer, but it's in South Austin.
Is that the
And
one that has like a Close Encounters thing in the lobby? Like this like mountain thing?
no, they have, I'm trying to think, what do they have?
That might be Mueller. It's one of them, but it might not be that one.
Yeah, I think the Slaughter Lane one has robots, and I can't think of what they're from. I'll have to look next time. I'll probably go this week.
It could just be like random sci-fi robots. Like they have some of that 50s kind of imagery in
Right.
like in the lobbies. Well, like there's like the Alamo Drafthouse logo that has like a bunch of old movie images like scattered throughout it. But at the La Centera one, I think all the theming is Western. But
Yeah, I noticed because my mom had never been to Alamo Drafthouse before. And so we
mhm.
went, and she was like, "Oh, I really love all the Western posters and stuff in here." So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah, it's
definitely
pretty cool.
of that one.
Yeah,
Um,
they used to have there's been like 3 different Alamo Draft Houses in Houston that are all closed now. But
oh,
I think originally it was like Alamo Draft House West Oaks, which I never got to go to. I think that closed in like 2011. And the first one I went to was Alamo Draft House Vintage Park, which opened after that one. And that was a really nice one. That was I don't even know how to describe where it was, but it was like North Houston kind of. And it was really nice. It was more like the one like La Centera, but that got like bought out by Star Cinema Grill, and they just turned it into a Star Cinema Grill.
oh,
And
really?
yeah, and but then they had like after that, the only one left in Houston was Mason Park, which is also an older one that I think opened like 2005. But it was basically just like a little strip center, like just where you would see like a district theaters. Like it had that feel, like of just this old strip center where they have a movie theater. But I walked out of Interstellar at Alamo Drafthouse Mason Park in 2014. Well, I didn't walk out of it, but the projector broke down, and this is when it first came out, and they were showing it on film. I specifically went there because I wanted to see it on film, and then the projector broke down, and I was like super pissed, and like I left, and I was just because obviously I was excited to see Interstellar. It was one of the biggest movies of that year, and the
I
projector
still
broke
haven't
down,
seen
and
it.
it's really good. I love it,
I need to watch it.
but
It's on my list. I just always pass it up.
it's on my Vudu if you ever want to watch it. But yeah, the projector broke down in the middle of the Matt Damon scene. I don't know if you even knew he was in it, but um,
It's fine.
yeah, it's not really a spoiler just to say his name, but like it's just a climactic scene, and it broke down in the middle of that. This is when it first came out, and I was just like, and they couldn't get it restarted. At first, they were acting like they were going to try to restart it, but then they just couldn't, and that was the worst. And I vowed that I would never go back there, at least to that specific location. And but then Vintage Park shut down, which is where I wanted to go, and so I had to go to Mason Park. But it wasn't really their fault. Like stuff happens, but they have a really good programmer, the Houston Alamo Draft Houses, and his name's Robert Saucedo, and he programs like a lot of cool stuff. Like they do this series called Graveyard Shift, where they show horror movies every Friday, and they'll do double features. They'll do a lot of the times now it's just single features, but they just show old horror movies and he introduces them. He also does a film club series, and all this stuff happens at La Centera now. But he does a film club series where they just show like a lot of his newer stuff, but it's more indie stuff that you might not have heard of. They're showing Inland Empire soon, which I'm gonna go see. But they also do older films sometimes for that. But anything introduced by him is really cool to see. And but yeah, Mason Park eventually shut down because they opened the new La Centera location because they wanted like a nice building. But yeah, I love it's one of my favorite places to go. It would have been a dream to have one here in League City. Honestly, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but because I just have to drive an hour to go. But if I ever lived right next to one, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the Slaughter Lane one is like 6 minutes from our apartment, and so we go all the time.
Yeah.
And like now that we have the season pass, I'll definitely be going a lot more. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. I just realized you never did like the quick like breakdown of the movie.
I
I
think
don't
I did a
know.
little bit at the beginning.
Huh?
Yeah, sorry, we veered way off from the movie, but
Yes, we did. Talking about how
um,
we love Alamo Drafthouse, but that's okay.
I think we've reviewed it pretty thoroughly. Like, I mean, not thoroughly, but I think I broke it down like the plot all up at the beginning.
Okay.
I think so. I have to go back and look, but like, I mean, basically the plot is just like Alexander Skarsgård, his dad is killed, and his dad was a king, and he must avenge his father, and it's a badass Viking movie. I recommend that everybody see it, and um, yeah, I can't wait to see what Robert Eggers does next. I hope. The problem with these filmmakers is they always take so long. It's like 3 or 4 years between things, and but honestly, it's hard to say. I think The Witch is still my favorite film of his, but The Northman is very close, and I love The Lighthouse too. But The Lighthouse is more of like a 4.5 for me. But I still love it. The Witch is probably still my favorite, but The Northman is very close.
See, I would go the opposite way and say The Lighthouse is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But The Northman and The Witch are very close. And I think it's just because how, like, for me, The Lighthouse kind of like is on this like line of being like very sublime. And
Yeah,
you don't really know throughout the movie like what's real, what's not. Um, it's very surreal in a lot of ways, you know. So
yeah, it's much
I
more
really
experimental.
enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I like them all a lot. I think they're all 5 stars for me. Um,
yeah,
oh, but one last thing that I wanted to add about the Northman was just like a little bit of a gripe, but didn't like take anything away from it for me, was that the use of CGI in the wolf,
yeah,
I just didn't like it. Took me out of the movie almost, I feel like.
yeah.
Um,
I can see that. It didn't really take me out too much, but yeah, I mean CGI can always do that, but I guess they had to use it. But
yeah, there's no way they could have like had a wolf do all that.
well, now with animal, like, I don't know how to phrase this, like animal rights stuff, I guess, like they almost never use like a real animal on a set anymore unless they're just like standing around not doing much. But if it's
Right.
like an animal like doing stunts or doing anything big, that you're probably going to use a fake animal or a CG animal.
Right. And
Yeah,
then I think the effects for the family tree also kind of messed with me a little bit.
I
Not
kind
so
of like that. I can see how it was weird, but like I don't know. I thought it had like a weird experimental look that I liked. But it
yeah,
was kind of
they
CG looking,
definitely could
but
have done it like in a way that I would be like, oh, I really wish they didn't do that. But I think it was just very different, I guess, in the coloring than the rest of the movie, that it kind of took
mhm.
me out of it a little bit, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like mulling over that.
There's one thing, and I'm probably gonna make myself look stupid to the audience, but um, I didn't understand exactly. There's the image of the girl. I don't even know if it was a girl. It might have been a girl who was like riding a horse. It's like towards the end when they're like talking about his children that he's gonna have,
Mhm.
and then you see like the girl like riding on a horse like with like a helmet on, like then screaming into the camera. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, she's called a Valkyrie.
But was that supposed to be like a future interpretation of his daughter?
No, so Valkyrie in like Viking myths is um kind of like, I wouldn't describe her as an angel, but she is like the guardian of passage from death to Valhalla.
That makes sense, because at the end he dies, and you have that image of like the gate opening up, which is Valhalla, and you see her on the horse, which makes sense if she's guiding him to Valhalla. But I was just confused because I thought it might have been like some sort of interpretation of his daughter in the future or something. But I
Right.
was off track with that. But because his daughter, they showed the lineage, and then she had like a helmet that looked very similar on. But
Oh,
yeah,
she was meant to be like the Maiden King
mm-hmm.
later on. But one thing that I saw online about the Valkyrie, which I thought was kind of funny, was a lot of people in the audience thought that she was wearing braces.
That's kind of what I thought too, but that wouldn't make any sense, seeing as at the time.
So I read up on it, and they found like various Viking burials where the people had like ridges cut into their teeth, like up at the top, and then they would fill it with some kind of like enamel or like dye it blue or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like for decoration, I guess.
It's interesting. I know
But
Robert
I
Eggers, one of
definitely
the
see
coolest
how
things
it
about,
looks like braces.
yeah, I can see it too. One of the coolest things about Robert Eggers, in my opinion, is that he's kind of known for like doing very in-depth research and like trying to be as historically accurate as possible and finding weird, interesting things about the period and using them, but also kind of mixing it with like a certain tone of surrealism, which is an interesting combination. But because with like the witch and the lighthouse, like all the dialogue is very like period accurate, and sometimes it's like hard to understand because of that. And this one, I didn't think the dialogue. I thought it was kind of more natural, not natural, but more modern. Even though still has that period kind of nature to it, but it just seemed to flow more, which may have been studio mandated. Like I don't know, but yeah, I thought the dialogue was easier to understand. But I like that he tries to be realistic within the periods, and he's not just doing like 20th century periods. Like he's going way far back. And I think that's really cool. But I also like how he combines it with like really weird, surreal stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I really liked about the movie that I guess kind of goes hand in hand with it being historically accurate was there was never anything that was shown that was something that couldn't happen. So in the beginning, they do the ritual in the cave, and we can kind of infer that they've like ingested some kind of hallucinogens, and the little boy is like floating above them and like looking at them all sitting in a circle. And so that can be attributed back to whatever they drank. And I'm trying to think of the other one. Oh, when the mystic in the cave with Willem Dafoe's head tells him to go find the sword. That scene when he goes to find the sword, he climbs down the rope. He walks over to the Viking warrior and touches the sword, and then it turns into this battle scene, kind of. He's trying to fight for the sword, and then it cuts back to him just standing in front of the Viking king taking the sword. So is that his imagination? So I thought that was a really clever way to kind of add in mystical things that, you know, they might be able to imagine through their myths and things like that, but it's not
interesting.
like it's not like making it into any kind of like science fiction or anything.
It's not going full like fantasy.
Right, going
And
fantasy.
anytime it does, it, like, you know, like you said, it kind of cuts back to where something to where it could be imagined or something like that. But I think that's kind of the commentary on just how these myths were made. Like, people at the time, if people start drinking stuff and they're tripping out, they might not fully understand like what they're getting into, and these sort of mystical ideas and stuff kind of just get pulled into their reality, and they start making these myths, even though in reality they're just tripping out on drugs. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that it's an interesting commentary on how these sort of myths can be created.
Right. And so another way that that's used is when Anya Taylor-Joy and Alexander Skarsgård drug the village when they're looking for the spirit who killed the eldest son's friends, and because they think it's like black magic or something, and then Anya Taylor-Joy spikes the food, and then, you know, they don't know what's happening. They think that something came over them, like a spirit, and don't quite understand how that all happened until, I guess, later on when they find out that Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy were trying to kill the uncle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see how all of those things could start to make myths come into circulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all in all, I really love the movie, and I think that's all I have to say about it. But as I said, I give it a 5 out of 5. Did you have any more thoughts on it?
I'm trying to think. There was. Oh, I did have another thought. Something that I was thinking about a lot, just based on the comments that I've seen on the internet, were a lot of people saying that it's a hyper masculine movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't
It's
really
kind of a
see.
commentary against that.
Huh?
I think I can see that, but like, in a way, I think it's commenting on that, on like hyper masculinity, if that makes any sense.
Right.
That's an easy thing to say, but I think that when you, in the scene where he is trying to save his mom and then it's revealed, she says that like, I didn't even want this, I didn't want to be with your dad, like all that stuff. And like, I just think it's putting the crazy macho stuff into question. And
Right.
because it's this world where, you know, these women are used as like slaves, and they're just like thrown into whatever marriage they're supposed to be thrown into. And like Alexander Skarsgård is just, because his dad, he looked up to his dad and he didn't have any other choice. That was his whole world. And that's why he follows this path where he has to avenge his father, because it's all he ever knew. He just has to.
Right.
And but then everything gets thrown into question. And with especially the way at the end that he dies, and then it's passed on where you're gonna have this Maiden King, and Anya Taylor Joy is like sort of the one left alive. Uh, I think it's putting that like sort of crazy, that uber macho stuff into question a little bit. I don't think it's being like just saying like this is the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And my thoughts after seeing that online is kind of thinking back on the movie. And if you really look at it, women are various women in the movie are driving it from the beginning to the end. So at the beginning,
Yeah.
we see Nicole Kidman, um, you know, she pushes him away as a young child because he runs into her room and she says, don't come in here unless you've been invited. And so that kind of creates a disconnect between them. And then she plots with the uncle to kill Ethan Hawke, and that sets him on his path to avenging his father. and then Anya Taylor-Joy comes into the mix, and or I guess let me back up a little bit, because he, you know, runs into Bjork, and Bjork is like, you know, you have to avenge your father, and kind of lays out how he'll do it and predicts that he's going to have a child who becomes the Maiden King, and then goes back to find his uncle, meets Anya Taylor-Joy along the way. You know, they're all intertwined into the plot and kind of moving him along the whole way through. So
you've got three major women characters, and they may not be the very forefront of the story, but like you said, they are important to the story.
Right.
And it's weird because I don't know, when Nicole Kidman says that she was plotting with Fjolnir and that she always wanted to be with him and all that stuff, like, I question whether that's true or not, because it shows her screaming at the beginning, and then she said she was laughing, but then when I rewatched it, it seemed like she was screaming. But
see, I interpreted it as like hysterically, like screaming and laughing, like, because I was looking for that upon my second watch as well. And I was just kind of like, is this an Easter egg that's put in where she sounds like she's screaming and it's ambiguous enough that it could be either? And I kind of question, are we seeing that through the lens of him as a child, or is that how it's kind of happening in real time?
Yeah, but I like how it makes you question those things, and either way, like, I think it's commenting on just how fucked up this world is, how barbaric it is, and how just, I don't know, insane it is. None of these things would happen now, and there used to be a world where, like, you could just kidnap and kill anybody you wanted and burn down a church full of 100 people and do whatever. But yeah, so I don't think it's in any way, it's showing barbarity, and like, it's showing it as something interesting, but I certainly don't think it's like trying to be this like macho, like kind of like rah kind of thing where it's like celebrating that at all.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way either, and when I saw some of those takes, I was kind of like, did we see the same movie? But I don't know. I kind of think that I went in a little bit afraid that it might be that way, but since it's Robert Eggers, like, I, didn't expect that from him based on his other movies. So I think he makes a little more complex characters than that.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, and I already basically said this, but like, I do think it is kind of commenting on toxic masculinity, for lack of a better term. But like, it just shows how far back that goes. Like, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And I don't know. I think it's interesting. But yeah. But like you said, anyway, Robert Eggers always has like an interesting take on things. And I actually thought it was interesting. He actually co-wrote this with a guy. It was an Icelandic poet named Sion. It's like Sjon. I guess Bjork introduced him to this person. But Sion also wrote Lamb from last year.
Oh, I loved Lamb.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot too. And so I thought it was interesting that he also wrote that. I mean, I didn't really see any sort of similarity to the two, other than the fact that there's like Iceland in both of them. But
right.
I'm not totally sure if it's Iceland in the other one. But we're in Lamb. But it feels like Iceland, kind of. But,
yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, that's basically about it for my thoughts about the movie.
So I had a question for you. What was your favorite scene, if you had to pick one?
Well, there's two. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be the scene with Nicole Kidman.
You can say both of them. That's fine. We have time.
Mm-hmm. That would probably be my favorite, is the scene with Nicole Kidman where she reveals everything. And but second to that would be the scene where he's standing like on the mountaintop, not the mountaintop, but like on the hill, and like they're questioning, like he's like, who like killed my son? Like what kind of evil is this? And then like Alexander Skarsgård is just like standing on the hill screaming down to them and like showing that he did it. And that was just like a very epic like beginning to like a fight scene. I don't know, that was a really cool scene. But
Yeah.
like and even the Nicole Kidman, I mean it's kind of fucked up to say this, but like when the Nicole Kidman scene and then how that leads into like how so he's so fucked up from what she just said and everything that just happened, and then it leading to him just like brutally murdering the son with a sword. That was very visceral and powerful, and that's one of the things I loved about the movie. It's very visceral. Like you're just taking on like a ride with this movie, and I was just wrapped up. It was more. I wasn't as. I mean, I was wrapped up in the movie the second time watching it, but like the first time watching it, I was just totally engrossed, and yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, I felt like that too. The first time I watched it, I was very just like into like the experience of the movie. And then the second time I went back, I was trying to kind of piece it together, like kind of reverse engineer it, I guess, and figure out how it foreshadows like what's coming.
Yeah, pretty much same here. I was like all the main twists and turns I already knew, so it wasn't as exciting to see the plot pan out. And I mean, it still was entertaining. I'm not going to say that it was still definitely a 5-star movie, but yeah, I was just trying to kind of figure out, like you said, some of the more confusing things that like in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah. But what was your favorite scene?
So I also have two. I really enjoyed the scene where the eldest brother asks Alexander Skarsgård if he knows how to fight, and then they play the like field hockey game. And you
really
kind of
scene,
see
yeah.
him. I don't know. It's kind of hard to decide whether or not he's brainwashed into being enslaved by this family who, unbeknownst to them, is his family, or if he feels some kind of loyalty to the little boy because he's his mother's son, but he like kills the other player that knocks out the son that's trying to like, I guess, score a goal, for lack of a
He was about
better.
to kill the son, which was crazy.
Right.
And it showed him about to like, hit him with a bat. But like, I think the reason that he killed that guy in defense of the son, and Nicole Kidman brings this up again later, but like, I think it's just what you were saying. Like, it's his half brother, and like, and he says like, I'll even bring the kid with me if I have to. When he's talking about like saving his mother, and, like he wants to kill Fjolnir, but he knows that this kid is like a part of his bloodline in some way. Well, it's weird because the other brother, he doesn't care about like the older one, but like, I think it's more that's a child. But yeah, but
well, and
and
the older
then
brother isn't his blood either, like his blood
was
brother.
that before Nicole Kidman? I thought it was still their kid. Maybe I could be wrong.
No, so in the beginning scene when they come back to the house, and it's like Ethan Hawke and Fulnir, they bring this little baby out, and that's the eldest brother, but it's not her kid.
I'm embarrassed I didn't notice that since I saw it twice, but
I didn't notice it until the second time around, and I still had to like go look it up.
well, it makes more sense that he didn't care about that guy. But I mean, that guy was an asshole. But
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Yeah, but yeah, I think he just wants to save the kid because it's his bloodline. But it gets to a point where obviously Nicole Kidman reveals everything, and she says like, and she's using his like heart like against him. Like she's like, you like loved me, like that shows that you love me, that you would save your son. But she's like kind of like making, or that you would save my son. But like she's kind of like making fun of him and like telling him that she didn't want him, that he was forced upon her, and like it's just like it's so you can just so feel his heart being ripped out in that scene, and like I don't know, that's why it's my favorite scene in the movie.
Right, and then well, when he does kill her, she says thank you, and so that kind of begs the question, like, was she really happy with the uncle, or was she just like trying to survive.
That's what I kind of thought too. That's why I always question like whether that story was 100% true or not. But either way, with the way the world was, like she was forced into that marriage, and I'm sure she wasn't happy. But
Right.
I don't know. It's just a weird thing, but like a very interesting thing.
Yeah, I loved the like brand reveal that she did. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other favorite scene, I think, was when they had the funeral for the eldest son.
Yeah.
Just because it was so rich and like colorful, but it was a nighttime scene and it felt like a painting almost, with all of the like shadows and light. And
that gave me a little bit of Midsummer vibes, even though it was nighttime.
Right. Yeah, I felt that way too.
I noticed your Midsummer shirt, which I wanted to say is an awesome shirt, by the way.
Oh yeah, thanks. I got it. There's this Instagram account that I follow that does like bootleg movie shirts.
Oh, nice.
And so I ordered this one, but they have some really good ones on there. I'll have to send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I love Midsummer, and it's funny because Ari Aster and Robert Eggers did like an interview together, like for the A24 podcast.
Oh yeah, I listened to it.
Like Robert Eggers' first two movies were A24. This one wasn't, but I think they're kind of an interesting pairing. Like I think they're two like the most interesting like new directors that are out today, and because Ari Aster's first movie was 2018 with Hereditary, which is crazy that was his first movie, and yeah, Robert Eggers started in 2015 with The Witch, both awesome debut films. And I can't wait for Ari Aster's supposed to have a new film coming this year, Disappointment Boulevard with Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
And yeah, obviously very excited because it stars Joaquin Phoenix, but it's supposed to be the kind of a different. It's not supposed to be a horror movie. It's like kind of like a weird dark comedy apparently.
Okay.
And I know he wanted it to be 4 hours long, which is crazy, but apparently, I think there's been some conflict with A24. They're trying to cut it down, so it might only be 3 hours long, but it's still super long.
Let it make the 4-hour movie.
Yeah, really. I mean, you would think
if I can binge watch
whatever they want.
a TV show, or if anyone can binge watch a TV show, they can go watch a 4-hour movie.
Well, yeah, you don't have to watch it at once. Yeah. Like you don't have to watch it all at once, and I know some people would probably disagree with me on that, but I've watched 4-hour movies in the theater, and not very many, like one or two, but and it's not really a problem. I mean, you can, I don't know, most of them have intermissions if it's that long, but
right.
I kind of like long movies. Like there's something about it that just feels like this like weird adventure that you're going on.
Yeah, one of my friends had a filmmaker he was like a filmmaker sculptor in his grad program that was very into slow cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, since it was this guy's research, the whole class would have to, like all the grads would have to watch these slow cinema things that were his, like involved in his thesis and involved in the movies that he was making. And
was he showing them like actual movies, or was it like kind of weird experimental clips?
He was showing them as actual movies.
Or what? Do you remember what any of them were?
No, but I could probably get the list sent to me.
Okay.
But they were expected to watch it so they could be prepared to talk about his work in relationship to it. And I don't know that I've ever really watched anything that's considered slow cinema. I'm not sure. I'm not super well versed in, what all that entails, but
there's a couple
I'm really
I can recommend
interested
to you.
in it.
Maybe we could review one for the next movie, or for the next review. But Stalker.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, have you heard of Stalker?
Yes, I have not seen it though.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. It's on the Criterion Channel. And that's got a lot of like really slow sequences, but it's still like absorbing. And David Lynch does it, like Inland Empire. I would consider a lot of that very slow. And like Twin Peaks, The Return, like the new series, like he'll hold like for 2 minutes on like a shot of somebody mopping the floor and just doing that. And
I
I
love
don't know,
that.
it's yeah, it's very weird, but I kind of got fascinated with that kind of thing too. And like I tried to make some like kind of experimental videos that I later deleted, but it was just like videos of me just driving to like ambient music and just like shots of like scenery. But I'd like to experiment with something like that, like trying to make something real, not just like, just driving around. But like another movie, have you heard of The Brown Bunny?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
There's this guy named Vincent Gallo, and he did Buffalo 66, and
Okay.
that's a really good movie. But it's one of my favorite movies, is Buffalo 66. But The Brown Bunny is mostly just him driving. It's a road trip movie, but it's mostly just him driving, like literally, just shots out the window. So that's
That's
definitely
awesome.
in slow cinema. But yeah, I really like that kind of experimental stuff. Like, I'd like to recommend to you, I wanted to bring this up, Inland Empire, which I already talked about, but it's playing at the Alamo Drafthouse because David Lynch is doing a re-release of it, so it's kind of going to different theaters. So it might be playing at one near you, but yeah, I would definitely recommend Inland Empire. It's like one of his. I mean, David Lynch is an experimental filmmaker, but it's one of his most experimental. So
Is that the reason that there was so much buzz about, oh, David Lynch made a new film and it's coming out at um, what
it
film
could have been
festival
related to
is
that.
it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, there was a bunch of rumors that he was going to have a movie at Cannes because they're about to announce the Cannes
That's
like
right.
lineup, and so there was all these rumors. Like there's rumors going back to like last year that he was going to do a Netflix series called Wisteria. It had two different titles. It was like Wisteria or Unrecorded Night was one of them. But then nothing ever happened with that. And there people were saying that he didn't do it or he didn't film because of COVID and he was afraid to leave the house. But so I don't know what happened with that. But then there was these rumors that he had shot something in secret anyway, and he actually did end up doing something. It was a premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, which I bought into all that, and I thought it was good. I thought it was real.
I
But
thought it
then
was real
David
too. I was
Lynch,
like, yes.
because there was like legitimate sources that I looked into, and it seemed like it was very possible that it was real. But like then he announced on his weather report. Well, it was an interview first because he's been doing with Inland Empire. He's been doing the re-release, so he's been promoting that. But at first, an interview, he said he had this really weird cryptic comment where he was like, "I have nothing coming out. That was all just a rumor." But then he was like, "But there is a project, and I don't know what it is." So I was like, "What does that mean?" Like there is something, and but he said it wasn't his project. So I don't know if it's something that he's just acting in, and he's supposed to be in Steven Spielberg's new movie, which is interesting, but I don't think that's what he's talking about. But then later on his weather report, because he does these weather reports every day where he just like talks about the weather,
Oh yeah, I watch him.
and yeah, and at the end of the one, like the day before the Cannes lineup was announced, he was like, "I have no new film," and I'm just letting everyone know I have no new film at the Cannes Film Festival, and he just ended it. And so after that, and the next day, there was no new film announced. But they do have like films that they add like later. So I think there's still like a tiny possibility, but I'm not relying on it. I kind of believe that I think there might be something he made, but I don't know if it's coming out anytime soon. But who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
He will. Come on, David.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to
Hope
see the
needs
Inland
it.
Empire, the re-release because he restored it in 4K. And but it's weird because it was shot in SD, like on like old like 2006 like prosumer cameras that people would just buy. But these are cameras from 2006, so they're all like really low quality. And he somehow did some weird restoration where he upgraded it to 4K, and and that's going to be playing in the theaters. So I'm very excited to see it. I'm very interested to see what it's like.
Yeah, I'll have to see if they're showing anything like that in any of the Alamo Draft Houses in Austin. I'm sure they are. Or maybe what is it? I don't know. I feel like Austin Film Society might have something like that too.
Have you ever been there to that one?
I haven't, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I really wanted to go there. That's Richard Linklater's theater, basically. Like, he runs the Austin Film Society.
Oh, cool. I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, so I've always heard that theater's great, and they have a lot of like screenings on 35 millimeter and whatnot. And yeah, I've always wanted to go, but I've never gone yet. But last year I did go to Austin, and I saw Richard Linklater live at a screening for Slacker at the Paramount Theater because it was like the 30th anniversary, and that was pretty cool. But yeah,
I haven't been to the Paramount when they have movies there either yet, but that's also on my list of things I need to do.
I was in the front row, and I was in the front row because I wanted to see Richard Linklater as close as possible. But 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 then for seeing the actual movie, it was kind of rough because it's this massive theater, and I was in the front row,
Yeah.
like staring up at a massive screen. But like at the Alamo Drafthouse, a lot of the times the front rows aren't that bad. Like, 'cause I've sat in the front row there and it's fine. But
it's a
yeah,
lot
this one,
further away from the screen.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about everything. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah, we
inviting
should.
me, and hopefully we can review another movie. Next time I'll take notes so that I can have everything kind of lined up a little more succinctly, but I thought it went well, and I think I
No, I thought it went
talked
great.
about everything. If not, I'll text you later and be like, hey, I forgot this thing
Yeah,
that's really important, but I
I thought it
think
went
that
good.
was
I thought
it.
we covered it. But
Yeah.
I'm not a great note taker, so I might try to take notes in the future, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, but thank you for being here, and thank you everybody for watching. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.